Dimitri and Kira collapsed onto the splintered ashen floor of the burned-out home, their breaths heaving from the exhausting chase. The air inside the building was musty and damp, with charred wood and ash clinging to the walls. What remained of the furniture was blackened and crumbling, and the only light filtering in was from the broken windows. The stench of decay hung in the air, but it was faint compared to the horrors outside. For the first time in hours, they felt like they could breathe. Kira slumped against the wall, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She stared at the doorway they had slammed shut, her mind still racing.
What the hell was that?
She panted, running a hand through her hair, her voice trembling.
They're like people but trapped in those things.
Dimitri sat across from her, still clutching his metal baseball bat like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to sanity. His hands were shaking, his eyes wide with shock.
They're not people anymore. Whatever they were, Barney's twisted them into monsters.
The eerie quiet that followed only heightened the weight of Dimitri's words. Outside, the distant sounds of more dinosaur suits lumbering through the streets echoed faintly through the decaying town. Kira hugged her knees, her body trembling as she tried to gather her thoughts.
I thought Barney was just some stupid old kid's show. I didn't even know people still talked about it, let alone this.
Dimitri rested his head against the wall, still catching his breath.
Neither did I. We thought we were safe on Silver 7, far from Earth. It was just ancient history for us.
Kira looked at him, her eyes haunted.
Do you think we're the only ones left?
Her voice cracked as she spoke.
My parents, they're probably gone. And yours, they could be out there, right now.
I don't know.
Dimitri cut her off, his tone sharper than he intended. He glanced at her, regret flashing across his face.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to think right now.
Kira bit her lip and nodded, hugging her knees tighter. The weight of the situation pressed on them both. The crushing isolation of being trapped in a world they didn't understand, surrounded by horrors they couldn't comprehend. They sat in silence for a long time, the only sound being their steadying breaths and the occasional creak of the ruined house settling around them. Outside, the purple storm on the horizon rumbled, sending distant flashes of light through the sky, casting strange shadows over the burnt town. It was as if the world itself had been poisoned by Barney's influence, and the very atmosphere turned against them.
We need a plan,
Dimitri finally said, breaking the silence. His voice was low, almost defeated, but still clinging to a sliver of determination.
We can't stay here forever. Those things will find us eventually.
Kira nodded, but didn't respond immediately. She stared blankly ahead, her mind still foggy from the exhaustion and fear. After a moment, she whispered,
Do you think there's anywhere safe? Anywhere that Barney hasn't touched?
Dimitri hesitated.
I don't know,
He admitted.
but we've got to try. We've got to find somewhere.
Kira looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope.
Where? The whole planet is overrun with those things, and we have no idea where the next portal might be. We could be stuck here forever.
Dimitri clenched his fists around the bat.
Then we keep moving. If we stay in one place, we're dead. If we try to escape, maybe we find a way out. Another portal. Anything.
Kira sighed, leaning her head back against the wall.
All right, but first, let's rest. Just for a while. I can't keep going right now.
Dimitri nodded in agreement, his body aching from the chase.
Yeah, we'll rest. Then we'll figure out what to do next.
They both shifted to get more comfortable on the charred floor, exhaustion overtaking them. Kira rested on the floor, while Dimitri leaned against a broken chair, his bat resting across his lap. The sounds of the twisted world outside were muffled here, giving them a brief respite. But even as they rested, the tension lingered. The distant sound of Barney's I Love You song played faintly in the background, a haunting reminder of the nightmare they were now living. Kira's eyelids grew heavy as sleep began to creep in, her mind too tired to fight it off. Just as she started to drift off, she whispered,
Dimitri, do you think we'll ever get back to Silver 7?
Dimitri didn't answer right away. He stared out the broken window, watching the purple lightning crackle in the distance. After a long pause, he whispered back,
I don't know, but we have to try.
Kira didn't respond, her breathing already slowed as she slipped into a restless sleep. Dimitri stayed awake a little longer, gripping his bat and watching the shadows outside. The town of Kenosha, once a forgotten place on Earth, was now a twisted battleground. And somewhere, out there in the storm, Barney was waiting. As his own exhaustion finally took over, Dimitri couldn't shake the feeling that their real fight had only just begun.